Now, speaking about breakthrough technologies,
Yes.
on that topic, again, the main reason why we're sitting here today is because of one specific technology that came into my awareness about a
Yes.
year ago.
Yes.
It was a crazy experience of how the whole thing started. It started with my aunt. She had a cystic fibroid in her uterus, and in a few hours, she was basically, brought back to herself. And it was so extreme with this technology, the energy enhancement system, that I looked and I said, "There's no way."
I was gonna say, one of the reasons I respected you is you were as much skepticism as I had about this when you were telling me about it.
Yeah,
But what got me was, wasn't your dog or somebody's dog?
so that's what got me.
Yes.
The whole thing started with my aunt. She has that 12.5 centimeter cystic fibroid. 4 hours in a 24 unit energy enhancement system. She's back to herself. And I'm looking
Yes.
at it like, what's going on? But maybe it's the power of thought, placebo. Doesn't negate it, but it's still a human being. I want to know that there's something objective over here, that there's something beyond our subjective experience that can make that happen.
Yes.
Conveniently, and it was just a perfect series of events. A few days later, my sister's dog, it was a 4 centimeter tumor in his neck, and he's like 7 pounds. That's
Yeah.
big for a dog like
Yeah.
that. We put him in the same technology, the energy enhancement system, 3 days. He sleeps there for 3 nights, about 10 to 12 hours a night. It's gone. At that point, I put my hands up. I said, listen, I could say placebo on a human. I can't say placebo on a dog. So at that point, it started piquing my interest, and
Yeah.
I started going down this rabbit hole of what is this? How does it work? I
Yeah.
was still skeptical, but I said, maybe there's just something I don't understand.
Yeah.
I need to understand what's really going on here.
Yeah.
So I interviewed the inventor, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael.
Yes.
We created Unified Healing, which is pretty much a network to bring more awareness to these centers around the world. Over the past 12 months, we've opened about 300 of them around the
That's
world,
amazing.
and it's been helping tons of people. One of them I know is your friend Dan, which we could speak about. But my question for you is, how did this come into your awareness?
Once again, I'm always looking for answers, right? Because I'm looking to increase my energy, my strength. I mean, I'll give you an idea. I had a group follow me for 3 years. They measured me on stage, everything. I wore a $68,000 device that measures heart rate variability, anything you can imagine. They took my blood, they took my saliva, they checked my hormones. And then they did it to my audiences. And they found some interesting things, like I jump 1,000 times a day on stage and I weigh 285 pounds. So every time I come down,
Spoke about that right
yeah,
here.
I'll come down, it's 4 times the body weight. So he said, Tony, that's 1,000 jumps times 1,000 pounds. That's 1,000,000 pounds of pressure in a single day, and you're doing 4 days in a row. When they did my bone mass, they couldn't believe it. They said, this is humans. These are extraordinary athletes. This is something we never measured before. I'm 99.999% more than they've ever measured in a human. If you've ever been running with a friend and you get where you can't talk, that's because the lactic acid hits a 4. I'm at an 18 and still speaking, give you an idea. I have the same lean muscle mass as a defensive lineman in the NFL, right? I am burning 11,300 calories in a single day. I didn't think that was possible, but they followed me
How
for
much do
three
you
years.
eat?
Not enough during those days. I drop and then I got to go eat afterwards because I'm not eating. I'm just going 12 hours a day on the stage there. But to give you an idea, like I thought that was impossible, but chess players can burn 4,000 calories not moving. I burn 3,500 before I get on stage, to give you perspective.
Wow.
So in order to support all that, I do hyperbaric oxygen, I do cryotherapy, upstairs, I have all these devices here in my home. So I was in Australia and I knew I needed to get some hyperbaric oxygen. I needed to feed my nervous system that oxygen. I've been pushing so hard. And so I called this facility, said, great, I come over. And then they said, well, we're sorry, we're running a little late. Do you mind waiting in the meditation room? Sure. So I sit in the meditation room. It's kind of weird. I see these 4 computers with this code going across it. It's like, that's interesting. And so I'm sitting there and reading everything else. And I felt myself just starting to like, I was in there for only like 20 minutes. And I started feeling myself like just dropping down, like really like relaxed, but like more relaxed than I was ready for. And so I came out. I said, "What are those devices?" Oh, they said, "It's this EE system." I said, "What is it?" They said, "Well, they tried to explain it to me. They weren't really good at explaining it. Or I wasn't good at understanding it. Maybe it was my fault." But I knew something about different types of waves electronically and what it does to the cells in the body. I've obviously studied some of that, so interesting. But I'm skeptical still. I thought, well, maybe I was just really tired, but felt profound. So I called my wife Sage and my trainer Billy and another member of my family, Mary, and I said, come over here and get a massage or something, but I want you to sit in this thing and just tell me what you experience. And everybody had this experience. So I got back, I called, and I said, explain to me how this works. They did. And I said, what's the biggest units you've got? Because I got to charge this body up, right? Because they're talking about charges, the electrical charges in the cells, recharges the body. And so I said, well, I have this room, this salt room I built. And so we do our massages and meditations and so forth. And I said, what's the most you've ever done? And at that point, it was 16. And so they put these 16, they built it in, it looked beautiful. And people come in and go, what the hell is this? And after a little period of time, you feel it. And then I'm talking to my buddy Dan, who's obsessed like I am. He's always looking for breakthroughs. He's a bodybuilder and a race car driver, and he has the Beverly Hills, center, rejuvenation center that he brings and takes all these celebrity and turns them around. And we both use exosomes, and we're just like we pitch and catch with each other. Fantastic, brilliant guy. And so he calls up, and he's an enthusiastic guy anyway, but he is so passionate. He goes, Tony, I've had this experience. And he goes, mom. And he starts describing this. I said, I think I have that. I said, I have a room of that.
As I said, do you realize what you've got? I go, let me tell you what this technology just did for my life. And so I told Sage my story, and she said, that's amazing. She goes, I didn't know.
I said, tell me about your experience. They told me about a friend of his who had Parkinson's and how they went in for this session and felt better. And after 3 or 4 days, there was no tremor. Like, what? And he goes, and this other person, and he started telling stories. And some of it, but I know he's as skeptical as I am.
I was very skeptical. I'm sitting in this room with these computer screens, and I'm going, this just looks crazy. It really did not strike me as something that would really fix my problem. I can guarantee you that.
Because I know, Tony, it sounds absurd. He goes, but he's had this challenges, I'm sure he'll explain it to me, interview him, on his shoulders that are just brutal because he's just overlifted weights for years. And he's a race car driver. I mean, everything's pedal to the metal. It's a perfect metaphor for my friend.
About 13 years ago or so, I went into an orthopedic doc. I had such chronic shoulder pain, both shoulders just so bad that I couldn't sleep, and it got so bad. I thought I had severe tendonitis. So I go in, this guy takes an x-ray of my shoulders, and he said, sir, he goes, I've never even seen this level of damage. He goes, half your humerus bones are gone. He goes, I didn't even know you could damage shoulders this bad. And he goes, you're done. And I go, what do you mean I'm done? And he said, you're done with everything. Your racing is done. Your weight training is done. That's it. It's all got to stop.
And he goes, Tony, I went in there for 3 hours and I felt nothing. After all this buildup, he said, I felt nothing.
And I just didn't really feel a big difference the first time. I'd love to say it was just amazing right off the bat, but it wasn't.
So I thought, well, I've done too much damage, it's going to take something different than that. And he goes, then a few days later, I thought, what the hell? Some of the other people talked about going there and sleeping there.
I didn't have any solutions. I thought, well, I'm going to just try it again. What do I got to lose? I'm suffering so damn bad. So I came back the next day, 6 hours, and I walked out of that place pain-free. It was so amazing. I couldn't even believe it. I went home that night and slept through the night. I don't know what the hell's going on in that place, but I said, I haven't felt like this in 12, 13 years. My energy was phenomenal. And see, I had sleep deprivation too. So I felt so good. So I was going about once a week for 6 hours at a time, and it would knock me completely pain-free. And then eventually, after a few months, I got to the point where I was going 3 days without pain, and then eventually 4 days without pain. By month 8, I'm going a full week without pain now. Like, I'm going from 1 week to the next. I don't have shoulder pain anymore. It's knocked it completely out. I don't care what anyone says. All I can tell you is this: it's changed my life so much. It literally saved me. I don't know what else I would have ever done had I not found this, because I was essentially running into a position where I wasn't going to have much time left to do those kind of things. I was just going to become somebody that used to be. Well, I looked at Dr. Michaels and I said, do you understand what you've done for me? You literally gave me my life back. And I said, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to put so much energy into sharing this with others, people who are suffering, people who want their health back. Anybody that I talk to, if they're struggling with any kind of pain or suffering or just want to feel great again, and I just think this is the most amazing technology. I couldn't recommend it more to anyone.
So he goes, Tony, you don't understand. I've been having a hard time sleeping 1 or 2 hours in a row. And he goes, I can't believe you have this. You have this in your home. He said, I said, well, tell me about it. He goes, no, now they stack it. They do 24. They do this. I said, no, I think I have 16. He goes, no, but it's not. And then I talked to Dr. Michael, and she was saying, no, it's not arithmetic. It's geometric. And also the screens are bigger than the ones I have. And so I'm having 24 of them put in where I work, like, 12, 12, 12 in the corners or 6, 6, 6 in the corners. And I'm going to do it also in our master suite. We've ordered them. They're going to be here because I went to Boca and a lady in Boca, what's her name?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful lady. You don't have these centers. She opened a center in Boca. It's near here. And she was really wonderful.
It's called the Energy Room. It's in Boca.
Yes.
She works with us on the network as well for Unify
Yeah,
Healing. She's awesome.
She's a beautiful lady. She's only in it to win it for people. And she was a fan of my work and everything else. So she let me come when no one was there. So, I could just have privacy. And then I spent the night. I slept in this thing. And I had the same, not as bad as my buddy, but I've had some shoulder pieces, some smashing, some things I've been doing in my workouts and trainings. And it's like, I didn't feel any pain. So it's like, I called him and goes, okay, let's get 24 of these things because I got everything else but this device. This really, really seems to have
So
a
you're
great
saying
impact.
after one night when you slept in
Yes.
her 24 unit
Yes.
system, that pain went away?
Yes. And I went back a second time just to see what else I'd feel. I just felt so good. I was like, okay, what's the downside of this? There's only upside as far as I can see from this component. And then I called Dr. Michael and I got her to describe more of it. But I'd like to ask you, will you explain the science to everybody? Explain it to me as well. I'd love to hear, why does this work? Because there's two different types of waves we're dealing with here, right? So can you walk me through that?
Absolutely. So I'm glad we're all on the same page of skepticism because I think that's important. There's some
Me
people
too. I
that
didn't put anything here that didn't have all the science behind it,
it's
right?
extremely important because when you try to poke holes in things and then you find out, wait, I can't, well, then you actually know how something's working.
Yeah.
So there's a long version and there's a short version of explaining this. So I'll make the 3-minute version to the best of my ability
Okay.
of explaining how this technology works. Basically, there's two different types of fields. There's a scalar field and there's a biophotonic field. As you know, photons are just another word for light. Simplistically speaking, you could see the energy enhancement system as like a cellular charger. The optimal state of our cells and its charge is 70 to 90 millivolts.
Yep.
When you go to 20 and below, you have cancer, heart disease,
Body
things like
starts
that.
to break down. That's right.
It's all about charging those cells. So really health exists within the body. It's not outside. If you can charge those cells, you'll render an environment to be able to experience health as opposed to disease. You also happen to sync to the environment that you're in. It's almost like menstrual cycles with women. We know it's not contagious, but they sync to a bioresonant field around them and they all start experiencing the same expression at the same time, which is, in that case, the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
So when
Same thing happens with clocks. If you go to a clock, then you'll see the clocks, they all line up all of a sudden.
It
Same
syncs
exact
for the most part.
They're all different and then they'll line up. Right?
Exactly. So with that cellular charge, if you're in an environment of a 20 millivolt charge, it's going to be much harder for your cells to get to that 70 to 90 range. If you're in an environment of 70 to 90 millivolts, well, then it becomes a cellular charger for your cell. It's like plugging your body into that, outlet to be able to charge the cells.
Yeah.
So that's a simple way of answering it.
Yeah.
But a little more expansive version of it is you have a scalar field that is generating and a biophotonic field that is
A
generating.
scalar wave will go through walls. It'll go for miles.
Scalar wave goes through Earth. It creates that torsion field that has no limit of time and space because it's beyond that. It's actually faster than the speed of light, 1.4 times the speed of light, which is what scalar basically is.
Yeah.
So with your scalar field, the science behind it is you take two identical electromagnetic fields and align them in perfect proximity with each other. That merge point will create a scalar field, which is a torsion field. That torsion field, the toroidal field, which is the natural form, energetic field of everything when it comes to creation as we know it, is what our body is always trying to come back to. Your heart, your body, all the way to planet Earth.
Yeah.
When you tune back into that torsion field, your body experiences balance over disease, health over disease.
Yeah.
So it's really not the technology that's healing you. That's not how it works. It's your body healing itself, and the technology provides the proper environment to do it.
Because also you have all these electromagnetic waves that we have today. They're on our wrists, they're in our pockets, they're everywhere else. And from what I understand, it also helps to create that balance, to bring you back to that balance as well.
What it does is, a lot of people say it blocks it. It doesn't block it.
No.
It transmutes it. It takes distorted fields and turns it into coherent fields. And when you're standing in a coherent field of energy, aka that scalar field, the torsion field, you're able to experience coherence. That's one side. The other side is your biophotonic light. So through color therapy, polychromatic light, which is all those different colors that you see on those screens. Through photons, light hitting themselves in the center of that room. That's why they're perfectly aligned like you have in your room right now.
Yes.
And you will have with the 24 unit systems. You have an implosion of these photons, and that implosion creates a charge, 70 to 90 millivolts, rendering an environment that your body will sync to at 70 to 90 millivolts, thus charging
great.
the cells of your body.
Yep.
So it sounds crazy when you go the quantum physics level of it and explain it on that level, but you could break it down. And in short, it's creating a balanced environment that your body is tuning into and bringing itself back into balance, because that's what your body's always trying to do. Give it the proper environment, it will do just that.
It's interesting because there's a doctor that I have in Dallas that I've sent, I think 6 people to that were all terminal, from a young boy that had testicular cancer and was given 3 months to live. It's 3 years ago. He's totally healthy today. To somebody with glioblastoma, which I know is pretty brutal, brain cancer. And everything he does is to measure those fields in the body and to restore them to that balance. You know, he talks about 60, 70, 50 to 70. And I actually have a device that you can measure with so you can see it. So I'm real excited to see where I am and then go into the field for that period of time and see what the pieces are. It'll be an interesting way to measure it. I also think it'll be great for hormonally to see what happens for my family as well, because the hormones affect so much of your life and they're affected by so many different elements. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But, you know, the quality of your life is the quality of life of yourself. And they are these mini, you know, forces of energy. And that's why I try to tell people, life force to me, that's what it's all about. Life force is the force of energy. It's the energy of your life. But the quality of the life of your cells is the quality of life of your organs, the quality of life of your body is the quality of your life. So anything that can enhance that, that's why I'm personally so immersed in this and so excited about this.
It's going to be unbelievable. I look forward to hearing your direct experiences now, you know, with that 24 unit, having it aligned without the plexiglass and really doing the proper tests. Like you're saying, you can even do live blood analysis, see what
Yes.
happens,
Yes.
see what happens before and after.
Yes.
Somebody
Well,
like you,
my
you
wife
have the
does that
tools
for
to
a
do
living.
it.
Not for a living anymore. That's how I met her.
Yeah.
So she was doing my live blood analysis, how I got to met her. So we'll do that. We'll do the microscopic view. That's a great way to take a look at what the impact is in seconds. And we'll
100%.
see it immediately.
The-
And then I'm gonna help Dan because he lives in Vegas and he wants to put together a center there with 48 in it. I'm like, okay, buddy, I'm all in. You go in it, and when I go to Vegas, I'll come there too. But I really want to get out of this technology as well. I want to experience more of myself. I think it'd be great for you guys to publish, I know, someplace where more of the science is, because that's what I try to do so people know. But also, regardless of the science of anything, the best test of anything is what does it do to you, right? You know, we're all somewhat unique, but the fundamentals are still the same. It's all bioelectrical energy that makes us alive. And if we can enhance that, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Right now, there's about 2,000 pages of research. I'm
Wow,
working on making that even better
that's
so
great.
people can actually see more direct forms of how does this work. And like you said, beyond just what you read on that piece of paper, what's your experience?
Yes.
For me, what really got me was seeing it happen across the board, thousands. And when I say thousands, I mean I get emails all the time
Yeah.
with people from all around the world saying the same exact thing. When it
Yeah.
comes to strokes, when it comes to children that have speech impediments, when it comes to depression, anxiety, people that don't know each other are telling me the same story over and over and over again. Now that's not quite a controlled study, but to me, that's evidence right in front of your face, because you don't have that if
Yeah.
it's not happening across the board.
My whole view was even if it was a placebo, if it worked, why would you use it, right? Because placebos are powerful. You know, the more powerful the entry, the more impact. But this seems to go beyond placebo from what I'm seeing so
With the
far.
dog,
Yes.
it's been
Yeah,
happening
yeah,
with
that's
animals
true.
all around.
That's a good point.
So I have a question for you, Tony.
Sure.
After you're getting these 24 unit systems, two of
Yeah.
them, after you have a few months of experiencing them, doing your tests, if it's what you think it is and you have those results, would you be open to doing another interview to
Of
share
course.
those
No, I'll be
results?
happy to. Of course.
Awesome.
Of course.
Awesome.
Great.
I really look forward to it. And again, I want to say thank you for all the work that you're doing across the board.
I appreciate
I
it.
told you when we first spoke, you've inspired me. And one thing I want to say that I didn't say to you yet, you're one of the few people in the world that's not just a businessman and not just a conscious person.
Yeah.
Most people in the conscious realm and the spiritual realm have no business sense.
Yeah.
And most people in the business world have no spiritual sense. And it's rare to me when I get to see somebody that can combine the two. My father showed me that growing up. And it's a pleasure to be able to work with somebody like you and,
Well, I
and
appreciate
be in
that.
your presence in
I'll
that
tell you
way.
what I believe. I really believe business is a spiritual game because I have 111 companies. We do over $7 billion in business across multiple different kinds of industries. I know business background, but I have one complete obsession: do more for others than anybody else does in your category. If you do more for other people than anybody else in your category, you build a brand. When you build a brand, people will seek you out. When they seek you out, the business will grow. And so the more what does every religion in the world teach, regardless of which religion you believe in? I'm personally Christian, but it doesn't matter. It's like, treat thy neighbor, love thy neighbor like thyself. If you can put other people first and give your all in business, you always prosper. You have to still know how to learn tools to run a business. I get that. And I teach people that too. But I think it's to me, it's like we are so lucky to live in a country where there's free enterprise because that's how these breakthroughs happen. Because somebody's an entrepreneur, somebody like Chelsea, who's this woman who's just on fire to help people. She puts herself on the line, she makes an investment, she builds a little center, and she's there. She's there to over deliver for every human being that's there. And it's healing just to meet somebody like that, much less to be in that kind of environment. And I think business is to me one of those realms. It's just another way to measure the quality of your contribution. So thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it very much. But I want to plant seeds with everybody that if you're an entrepreneur out there, I'm a brother or sister with you because I know you took risks, but you got to take care of your energy in your life because if you don't take care of this, there's nothing left to give to other people.
That's the basis of it all. So again, I want to say thank you to you, Tony, and I want to remind everybody that's watching this, you are not helpless to any situation in your life. And that's not just health. That's everything that you're doing in your life. You're a creator of it. You're not a victim to anything. And every single answer exists. Maybe we don't know all of them, but you can find it. If there's a disease, there's a solution. If there's a disease, there's a cure. And if there's a problem, that solution exists. The question is, are you willing to do what it takes to find it? This is a beautiful step in the right direction. It brings us in the health and wellness field to find those things. But I want to remind each and every one of you, when you take the next step in your life, whatever it may be, there will be risks involved, especially in the world that we live in today. Take those risks, do what you need to do, step outside of the box because the box right now is limited. To step into this new paradigm, we're going to have to start thinking differently. We're going to have to start taking different actions, and we're going to have to start listening to our hearts instead of listening to a few people that tell us you have to do X, Y, or Z. Listen to everybody, but filter through your own discernment to understand what is really the best thing to do based on what I believe, based on what I know, and based on what I've learned from everything outside of me and within me as well. I want to just give a shout out to EE System, the Energy Enhancement System, for really keeping up with this incredible demand. There's a year waiting list right now just to get these things. So I want to say thank you to the entire EE System team for making all of this happen and really working endlessly. I want to say thank you to the entire Unified Healing team that has been expanding very, very quickly over the past 12 months and making all of this happen. And most importantly, I want to say thank you to all these center owners that have stood up, heard the call to action, and said, we're in, no matter what country you're in, we're in, let's make this happen, and let's bring this to the world to the best of our ability.